The weapon that we recovered at that second scene, I'm describing as a magazine fed semi automatic assault pistol. Not an assault rifle, but an assault pistol that had an extended large capacity magazine attached to it.
So I generally don't make videos this long, but I think I need to address the elephant in the room, the elephant in the nation. Um, there's no such thing as an assault pistol. There's also no such thing as an assault weapon. Those two terms were made up to confuse people and make them think that semi automatic weapons, be it a rifle or a pistol, is the same as an actual assault rifle, which is a real thing. But an assault rifle has a specific definition. In order for something to be an assault rifle, it has to be able to have either 3 round burst capability, full auto capability, or both. As for civilians, what we have semi automatic rifles. Do assault rifles exist in the hands of civilians? Yes, they do. But no true assault rifle has been manufactured for civilian ownership since 1986. So the ones that do exist are in the hands of collectors and are incredibly expensive. And by expensive, I mean upwards of $10,000, and it gets just higher from there. So just know that there's no one running around shooting anyone with an actual assault rifle. No one's spending 10 grand to go and commit a crime. It's generally in the hands of collectors. Um, so now that we have that part out the way, the reason why they are now trying to vilify pistols by calling them assault pistols because they feel they've done their job when it comes to vilifying semi automatic rifles. AR 15 variants, AK 47 variants, all of which in current civilian hands are semi automatic. Um, and they've actually done a really good job vilifying it because the majority of Americans don't understand firearms. So if they see a gun that looks like something that the military has, they're automatically going to assume it's the same weapon that the military has, even though the function is completely different. Um, Saying an AR-15 is the same as an M4 that the military uses is like saying a Ferrari body with a Prius motor is the same as a real Ferrari. It may look the same on the outside, but the inside is completely different. Can they both drive? Yes. Can these guns both fire? Yes. But they don't work the same. So that's something that needs to be understood. But back to what I was saying. The reason why they're starting to use assault pistol now is because since they've done their job so well with rifles, they can now move towards handguns. And the handguns that they're calling assault pistols, they're your general handgun. They're your Glocks. They're your Smith and Wesson MPs. They're, I would guesstimate, maybe 90-95% of the handguns that are in use now. The same firearms that the cops carry. Those are semi-automatic handguns. But by this new definition, those would be considered assault pistols, even though we know this is not true. Because the way they function, they only fire 1 round per trigger pull. So if you squeeze the trigger, 1 bullet comes out. If you hold the trigger, 1 bullet will come out and nothing more. It won't fire again until you allow the trigger to reset and you pull the trigger again. And that's how semi automatics work, be it a rifle or a handgun. 1 trigger pull equates to 1 round being fired. But the goal and the end game is to disarm citizens. And in order to do so, they have to make people want to vote away their own rights. So they want to make everything seem scary. They want to make it sound scary and they want to make everything seem more dangerous than what it really is. And that's why they're using the term assault pistol now. They're trying to make regular handguns seem like something dangerous, monstrous, and something that civilians should not own. Even though they're literally the same handguns that's been in the hands of civilians for decades. Um, and to even simplify things even more, if you look at your typical revolver, wheel gun, the little gun with the little cylinder, it's an oversimplification, but they fire the same way as a semi automatic firearm. With a revolver, You squeeze the trigger one time, one bullet comes out. Semi-automatic handgun, semi-automatic rifle, squeeze the trigger one time, one bullet comes out. It's literally the exact same rate of fire. Um, but for those that don't know and believe that the politicians and the power that be have their best interests in mind, they're going to automatically assume that they're telling the truth about these things, when at the end of the day, it's a complete lie. And that's why I encourage people to learn and look up things on their own. If you hear something that sounds a little crazy or a little far-fetched, Google is free. You can look it up. Hell, anything that I'm telling you, you can look up. If you want to know what an actual assault rifle is, look it up. The original assault rifle came about somewhere between 1938 and 1943 in Germany. It was called the Sturmgewehr, the STG-44, if I'm not mistaken. That was the very first assault rifle, and Sturmgewehr roughly translates to assault rifle. And it grew from there. The U.S. wanted their own version, and that's when we started coming out with things like the M16 that fired the 5.56 NATO round. But like I said, they weren't put into production. Production for them and civilian use stopped in 1986. So we're not running around with those. So just know there's an actual difference between an assault rifle and a semi-automatic rifle. And what us civilians have, those are semi-automatic rifles. Before I get off, one more thing I want to address real quick. There's a certain president that has this saying, why do you need an AR-15? Because deer don't wear Kevlar. Let's make one thing perfectly clear. The round that the AR-15 fires is the 5.56, 223, depending on your configuration, which in rifle standards is a very small round. Most of your typical hunting rounds are much larger than what the AR-15 fires. So to think that an AR-15 going against a deer would somehow completely obliterate this deer is a complete fallacy. Most AR-15 bullets use a 55 grain projectile. The projectile is the bullet that comes firing out the end of the gun. Take one of the most popular hunting rifles, hunting cartridges, the 308. The 308, for the most part, they could anywhere from 150 grain to say 180 grain, but the most used is 150 grain projectile. Now, I'm no mathematician, but I'm pretty certain a 150 grain projectile is a lot larger than a 55 grain projectile. And yes, people do use AR-15s to hunt. They use them to hunt deer. They use them to hunt coyotes. Depending on how far you're trying to reach out, some people even hunt woodchucks, groundhogs, small things like that. So don't let someone tell you that an AR-15 isn't for hunting. It's one of the most popular rifles in the nation, and it's used for hunting, it's used for sport, and it's used for self-defense. And if you believe in the Constitution, you believe in the First Amendment, you believe in the 14th Amendment, you should believe in the Second Amendment and our right to bear arms. And an AR-15 being the most common rifle in the nation, it falls well under the Second Amendment. And the Second Amendment doesn't have anything to do with hunting. It doesn't have anything to do with sporting. It's for defense. A lot of people shy away from that because they don't want to seem harsh or they don't want things to get vilified. But it's the God's honest truth. The Second Amendment is for defense. Defense of oneself, defense of one's nation. Period. Hopefully that cleared up some things for you. And if it didn't, leave a comment, leave a question, and I'll get back to you as soon as I could.